The storm outside wasn't the reason Olivia's heart was shaking. It was the footsteps behind her, the familiar, sharp, predatory rhythm of someone she once trusted with her entire heart. She clutched her tote bag against her chest, her breath uneven, her pulse loud enough to drown out the city noise. The lobby lights flickered as she sprinted across the marble floor, and in that one desperate moment, all she wanted was a door, any door, that could close between her and the past she had spent years trying to escape. She pressed the elevator button so hard her nail bent backward, praying it would open before he reached her. When the doors slid apart, she stumbled inside without looking, unaware that her life was about to collide with someone who carried a different kind of heartbreak, one that would change everything she believed about fear, strength, and love. If you're watching this and you believe in kindness, healing, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from. It helps us create more stories that touch hearts like yours. Inside the elevator stood a man she had never seen before, tall and tired-looking, with eyes that spoke of sleepless nights and responsibilities he never asked for. A small girl clung to his coat, her hair slightly messy as if she had rushed out of the house. Olivia pressed herself into the corner, breathless, trembling, unable to meet their eyes. The man, Daniel Mercer, instinctively pulled his daughter, Emma, closer, as if sensing danger but not yet understanding it. The doors slid shut with a weighty finality, sealing the three of them inside a small metal box suspended above the world. Olivia felt her throat tighten as the elevator began to move. For years, she had avoided closed spaces because they reminded her too much of the nights she spent locked inside rooms where her ex controlled every word, every breath, every thought. But this was the only door available. The only escape. Daniel watched the panic rolling off her like waves. He didn't speak, but even without words, something in his posture softened, as though he recognized the kind of fear that leaves permanent fingerprints on the soul. Daniel himself had lost his wife in a tragic accident 3 years earlier, leaving him to raise Emma alone while drowning in grief he couldn't share with anyone. He had survived his own storms, loneliness, guilt, exhaustion, but what he saw in Olivia's eyes was something even heavier, the raw terror of someone being hunted by memories that refused to stay buried. When the elevator jolted slightly, Olivia squeezed her eyes shut, her breath coming in painful bursts. Emma, with pure childlike innocence, reached out and handed Olivia a tiny pink sticker, shaped like a star, without understanding the weight her simple gesture carried. For the first time in minutes, Olivia inhaled without shaking. Daniel noticed the small exchange, and in that moment, he knew this frightened stranger wasn't dangerous. She was someone running from danger. The elevator kept climbing, floor after floor, and with each second Olivia's heartbeat slowed just enough for her mind to return to her body. She realized she had entered a building she didn't know, a moment she hadn't planned, with people she couldn't predict, but somehow it felt safer than the outside world. Daniel finally shifted his weight, not speaking but offering a silent, protective presence that acted as a barrier between her and the doors, just in case her pursuer followed. Olivia felt that small act. It anchored her. As the elevator approached the top floors, she knew she couldn't stay inside forever. Her chest tightened at the thought of stepping out into the hallway alone. But before she could spiral again, the elevator suddenly stopped, lights flickering, machinery groaning, and they were trapped. Olivia's knees nearly gave out. The small space grew hotter. Emma held her father's hand, sensing the tension rising like smoke. Daniel immediately crouched to reassure his daughter, but he also kept his gaze on Olivia, silently urging her to breathe, to stay grounded, to stay here in the present rather than get swallowed by fear. Minutes stretched into long moments. Olivia pressed her palms against the cold metal wall, trying to focus on anything but the sharp memory of her ex shouting, slamming doors, grabbing her wrists until they bruised. She remembered the night she left, running barefoot through the rain, promising herself she would never go back. But healing wasn't linear, and one unexpected encounter earlier that day had brought all her progress crashing down. She had run into him accidentally at a cafe. One look, one smirk from him, and the old terror returned like poison. Daniel understood brokenness, his own, and now hers. He finally spoke softly, not asking for details, not prying, but offering a steady calm that wrapped around her like a warm blanket. His voice wasn't commanding or intrusive, it was simply human. A reminder that not every man in the world was made of sharp edges. Olivia felt her breath slow, her shoulders loosen, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel completely alone. When the elevator finally began moving again, a strange bond had formed between the three of them, one built not on words but on pain recognized, fear understood, and kindness offered without expectation. The doors opened to an empty hallway, quiet and safe. Olivia lingered, unsure where to go. Daniel stepped out and held the door open with one hand while Emma continued smiling at Olivia, as if inviting her into their world. And for a brief second, Olivia felt something unexpected flicker to life inside her. Trust. She stepped out slowly, and Daniel gave her a small nod as if to say she didn't need to explain anything. She didn't. That silent respect meant more than he could possibly know. Olivia wasn't used to being seen without being judged. But Daniel looked at her the way one survivor looks at another, recognizing the invisible scars. They parted ways briefly, but fate wasn't done with them. Later that evening, as Olivia stood outside the building gathering the courage to walk home, Daniel reappeared with Emma tugging at his sleeve. The little girl held out another sticker, this one shaped like a heart. Olivia smiled, genuinely, fully, for the first time in months. Daniel saw that smile and felt something shift inside him too. It wasn't love at first sight. It was something more complex, more real. It was two fractured people recognizing that healing doesn't always happen alone. Over the following weeks, their paths continued crossing, accidentally at first, then intentionally. Olivia found comfort in the gentleness Daniel carried despite his own tragedies. Daniel found light in the way Olivia slowly rebuilt herself day by day. Emma adored her immediately, sensing warmth adults often overlook. Olivia learned what safety felt like again. Daniel learned what hope felt like again. Life didn't magically fix itself. Olivia still had nightmares, Daniel still had lonely nights. But together, they started discovering soft moments that stitched their wounds quietly, patiently. Healing became a shared journey. If this story is touching your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support means more than you know and helps us create more emotional stories like this one. Before the ending, please comment, healing is possible. Time passed, and the girl who once ran in fear began walking with steady steps. The man who once lived in shadows started seeing color again. And the little girl who carried stickers in her pockets grew up knowing that sometimes strangers meet in broken moments not by accident, but because life is giving them a chance to start over. Olivia never forgot the night she ran into that elevator, terrified, breathless, convinced she was alone. She remembered stepping inside unaware that a single dad and his daughter were waiting, not just to witness her fear, but to unknowingly become part of her healing, and she realized something powerful. Sometimes the door you enter while running away from the past is the same door that opens to your future.